Hi, Madeleine. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk about the film because I know it's rare for any actor to get the opportunity to tell a story like this over a trilogy. So I'd love to know what the most rewarding thing has been for you about Maya's journey across these movies.
Honestly, it was exactly kind of how you phrased it. Having the privilege of being able to shoot all three at once, so really getting to carve out her arc in a meaningful way, where everything is intentional and everything is placed the way it should be. I mean, it is kind of like each film is an act. So Act One is the first film, Act Two is so it really is broken down like that. And I think the most challenging part was the most rewarding part, which is having to navigate which film I'm in and where my character's at emotionally and injured wise. And I love a challenge. That's why I love what I do.
Yeah, and as you said, they are three very different films with obviously one overarching story. But with this third chapter, what would you say made it different or just uniquely challenging for you coming into this one?
I think like navigating the coming out of movie two's survivalism into the kind of resilience that she finds in movie three and the loss of humanity. Navigating loss of humanity is a new feeling for me as an actor. So I really had to spend some time with that. But I really enjoyed finding it, weirdly.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, a big moment in this film is we've seen it in the posters and on the trailer, but your character putting on the mask. Was
Mm.
that quite a transformative moment for you? Did that really just change how you felt on set in those scenes?
It did. It's funny. The first time I put it on, I kept saying to Courtney, this doesn't fit. It doesn't feel right. I don't think it's on my face right. I can't see. And then everyone was like, no, this is exactly how it's supposed to be on your face. And I realized I had after, because we enhanced this film. So a lot of the stuff with the mask on, we shot, last year. And so I spent 3 years running away from these masks and putting it on my body. It felt like a bit of a weird thing for my system, to be honest with you. I didn't really know how to behave or what was going on. And then that kind of worked for the character, I guess. But I don't think Maya ever found a level of empowerment with it. But I do think like there's a scene where she's wearing it and she does something that's kind of out of character for her. And that feels like maybe there's a level of like anonymity and like comfort behind the mask.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I think, as you alluded to, this is a very physically demanding role with what obviously your character goes through. What were some of the biggest challenges with that from film to film? And as you said, keeping that continuity of what she was going through as well as things intensify.
Yeah, I think stunts are innately hard, especially because as an actor, there's this, we have amazing stunt doubles and stunt crews to do that job. And then you also want to protect your performance because it's somebody else coming in and performing for you. And so it's kind of navigating like safety, ego, and what you're capable of all at one time. And so the stunts were definitely physically difficult. The worst ones were the ones that got cut, unfortunately. So the ones I worked the hardest on like didn't make the films, as it always goes. But the funnest stunt, this is embarrassing, never knew how to drive a stick. And so I learned how to drive stick for this movie. Also never got used, but I did learn how to drive stick for this movie in Slovakia.
Oh wow. And there's a lot of blood in the film. And I know actors often talk about what a nightmare fake blood can be, but what was your experience with that? Did that make things harder for you, or did that almost help with what your character was going through to have some of those challenges?
I never even really acknowledged the blood. I think like when you're doing a horror film, you expect blood everywhere, always. So blood was never really an issue. The prosthetic wounds were hard to get off at night, but it was never like a pain. It's part of the process you kind of expect. There's a wound in movie two that is bleeding that I sew myself up with, and they were able to rig the wound so it actually bled on set, which was, I think, one of the coolest pieces of special effects I've ever seen. And that was very helpful to my performance because usually you would be just sewing up like a fake wound and then they'd be adding blood VFX, which makes it so much harder. But there's like a pain receptor in your brain that when you see blood on your body, you feel it if you allow yourself to. And so it kind of allowed me to really like feel the pain.
Wow, that's amazing. And just while I've got you, I feel like your name keeps coming up with DC character Poison Ivy. How do you feel about some of that chatter? And is that role you really are gunning for? Just
Uh,
waiting and seeing.
I would love. That's a dream for me, for sure.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. And with the Strangers franchise, no spoilers, but do you think you would come back if the door is open to a fourth chapter to continue this story, or do you almost feel like with this trilogy, Maya's story is over and it's time to maybe pass the baton on?
I'm a really big proponent for letting characters not be run into the ground, I think. And so I think like we've gotten a really great experience with Maya and I like the way this ends with it being open to interpretation. And obviously if the story was right and the character felt right, then yeah, but ultimately I do feel like her chapter is closed.
Yeah, well, I cannot wait for people to see this chapter because it's
Thank
another
you.
fun one. So, Madeleine, thank you so much for your time. I thought you were fantastic in the films. It's been lovely speaking to you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Thank
You
you.
too.